I've shot quite a number of Triumph Stags for my job, so let's get straight into it, shall we? The good. The name. It's a cracker. The Stag is unusual in keeping its factory development code into production. It suited the car perfectly. It had masculine, upper market connotations which were probably exactly what the marketing bods were looking for. It suited the shirt open to the navel, medallion wearing ×2. If Triumph hadn't have used it, it possibly would have ended up as an aftershave brand designed to compete with Brute or High Karate. The emblem for the car is pretty great too. Much kudos to the mystery uncredited person behind this wee rampant beastie. The engine. This is where things get controversial, of course. Triumph were keen to row their own canoe when it came to the engine for this halo car. The Buick-derived 3.5 litre V8 was a thing during the Stag's development, however. Rover, a British Leyland stablemate, first used it in the 1967 P5B, with the B literally standing for Buick. In hindsight, it would have been prudent perhaps to adopt this light and compact unit. The Stag's V8 was credited to Lewis Daughtry, who designed the famous Triumph Slant 4 engine. As early as 1963 he was tinkering with creating a V8 using two Slant 4s that shared a central crankshaft. It wasn't a mad idea, but the devil of course was in the detail. In some ways the Triumph V8 was a more needy unit, and the British Leyland manufacturing ethic, such as it was, of the time wasn't really a match for it. This, combined with the need for diligent maintenance, meant the Triumph V8 was beset by problems, expensive ones. Overheating and accompanying warped heads were common, as were stretched timing chains. Both of these led to very obvious and quite catastrophic failures often. So why on earth do I like the engine then? Well, some 50 years on, the engine's inherent issues are well known and can be relatively easily catered for. A sweet running Stag V8 engine, which most now are, is actually a delight. Smooth, refined and torquey, with a sonorous soundtrack all of its own. The cabin. The cabin itself is a lovely place to spend time. It's like a Triumph TR6 has grown up, got a job and left home. There are a few key facets of the Stag's cabin, however, that always make me smile. If not literally, then metaphorically. Firstly, it's the only car I can immediately think of that helpfully prints easy to follow instructions for raising and lowering the hood on the sun visor. It's a little thing, but little things add up, and little things often make me happy. Secondly, I can't get enough of what I call a Trivial Pursuit's warning light pod. It always reminds me of a Trivial Pursuit's game counter filled with the plastic so-called slices of cheese. It's just a fun thing, probably made and supplied by Lucas and carried over from the Triumph 2000 on which the Stag was based. Not so much fun when all the lights light up, of course. Lastly, in the cabin are the back seats. So many so-called 2+2 cars of this era are exactly that, so-called. The Stag is an exception to this disappointing rule. The rear seats are worthy of the name for once. Older kids will have no problem using them, and even smaller adults will find them more than bearable for shortest journeys. That might sound like damning with faint praise, but it puts this car streets ahead of many of its peers. The looks. The Stag looks great, of course. Giovanni Michelotti designed it, and as a result it's very much more sophisticated than, say, the TR6 for example. Perhaps at odds with its butch name, there is something appealingly delicate about it, and I'm not talking about the engine again either. The lights are great front and back, and the car looks equally at home with a hard top on, or the folding hood up or down, another rare feat achieved by a world-class designer. The bad. The quality. Again, this is no inherent fault of the car in essence, it's more a recurring problem with pesky British Leyland, and the Stag wasn't the only casualty, of course. To be fair, very few of the Stags I have seen exhibit any obvious issues. survivors of today will have likely been fettled, loved, upgraded, restored, retrimmed and the like. I've not personally seen a totally original example. There is enough documentary evidence out there, however, to suggest that quality problems were rife amongst the Stag cohort. So much so that it tarnished the car's and Triumph's reputation for many, many years thereafter. The ugly. The engine. I know, how can the engine be both the good and the ugly, I almost hear you opine. Well, it can, because each one is different, and also some of the original design decisions didn't help matters one little bit. If you were able to find one today that hadn't had its Achilles heels attended to, it would certainly qualify as ugly. What were these problems, you ask? How long have you got, I ask? The original design of the V8 placed the water pump, for example, high up in the valley between the banks of pistons. Not only is this an absolute bugger to get at, it also meant any small drop in coolant level could leave the pump pumping air and not water. The original Stag V8 was designed at a 2.5 litre capacity. Relatively late in development, it was increased to 3 litres, and all the cooling capillaries cast into the head and block therefore became a little bit narrower. They then became more susceptible to clogging, both casting sand and sludge from electrolytic corrosion being common culprits. Add to this very long simplex timing chains, head studs acting in different planes, and general thermal stress issues, and original beasties were almost bound to get ugly at some point. Luckily, specialists today know the issues and can quite easily mitigate for them, hopefully. Now, all this is purely my opinion, and there'll be plenty of others, and all as valid or invalid as these. So don't be shy and share your thoughts in the comment. Whilst you're at it, why not like, share and subscribe so you can heartily disagree with all future episodes of A Car Photographer's Good, Bad and Ugly. Happy motoring!